let's talk about fakes. So if you go on TikTok, it's actually on YouTube now, you will see GHgate hauls of designer fake bags mainly, right? And the hashtag itself, like I think hashtag GHgate or something like this, on TikTok has 3.7 billion with a B views. Now, the European Union Intellectual Property Office ran a survey in 2022 for 15 to 24-year-olds, and 52% of those respondents said that they had bought a counterfeit item in the last 12 months, with 37% of those saying that they did it on purpose. Recently, Business of Fashion conducted a similar survey this year showing similar results. So, I thought that today we would talk about why have fakes become so rampant in designer fashion, and why are Gen Z particularly so like happy to tell you about it when it was such like a hush hush, like, oh my gosh, I actually got it from, Now, people are doing hauls, they're more than happy to tell you that this bag is a fake. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're gonna love it here. So head down there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Now, before I get into the nitty gritty of this, I did just want to give a disclaimer, which is I personally do not buy fake or counterfeit products. I also would never encourage anybody to do so. However, this video is not about me judging those that have. A lot of people don't know sort of what their money, if they buy a fake item, goes to. I'll be covering that a little bit, but that's not what this video is about. I'm not here to do the judging. This video is just about me sort of getting to the bottom of why this is happening, why we're seeing it so much, what are sort of luxury's responses to this. So I am not here to attack anybody. The sort of fakes industry, counterfeit industry, is apparently the largest criminal enterprise in the world. And if you didn't know, this is the only part that I'm going to be touching about on this. That money does tend to go towards things like terrorism and trafficking and awful things that, I would assume none of us would want to give money to. I think that a lot of people aren't aware of that. A lot of people think that it's, just a harmless, oh, let me get a deal bag for £40 sort of thing. Anyway, so really we're seeing this sort of boom and buying an interest in fakes from one generation in particular, and that is Gen Z. So we're really looking at, I believe, is it 15 to 24-year-olds, that kind of age bracket. And there seem to be three main reasons why Gen Z are turning towards fakes. Number one is the most obvious one. The prices of designer items are very high. There's price increases that make things seem even more unattainable than they were before. And we see this all the time. There's numerous price increases happening, each year, whereas, it only really used to be once a year, twice from specific brands. And I know a lot of people who are seasoned luxury purchasers are getting very sick of this. At the very least, it's annoying. And at the very most, it's almost like some people honestly feel like it's quite disrespectful, especially when, economic crises, people are really going through it, and it looks as though these companies are just I want to bleed every last penny from you. So I understand this sort of mentality and why it might drive you to, do you want to know what then? Fine, this is the closest I can get. I think it was in the Business of Fashion survey, most respondents said that if designer items were more affordable, then they would stop buying fakes. So obviously, this is the main issue. Now, the second issue, and this is where I think it gets very interesting, is that a lot of the respondents, or Gen Z, do not feel there is a difference in quality, or that the difference in quality is not enough to warrant the luxury price. It looks like the real thing, that's all they're bothered about. And again, we have sat here and we have seen quality issues from a number of, the biggest luxury brands in the world. Some brands are much better than others in this department. Now, NSS Magazine did a really, really great article on this, and one of the points that they made was there's been such an increase in Gen Z buying fakes, because the luxury brands are obviously putting a lot of marketing targeting that, you know, demographic of that age group, and it's been successful. Gen Z wants these items, the marketing is working, but it's still unattainable for them. They want these items whether or not they're real or fake. And also, what goes hand in hand with this is that the main sort of like culprits or websites that people go to for these fakes, your DHgate, are so easy to shop. You no longer have to like know somebody that knows somebody, or, you know, go to a certain place or whatever to track down these pieces. You can literally just like hop on the internet as you would the authentic site and have it delivered to your door. Now, obviously, this also means that there is less of a value held behind the quality and the longevity of the item. I think I saw somewhere that like that actually isn't necessarily a factor in the group of Gen Z that buy fakes, because it's like it looks good enough for being on the internet slash, you know, taking an Instagram picture, putting it in a TikTok, blah blah blah. That's as good as it needs to be, right? I don't need it to last years. I don't need this to pass down generations in the future and all of that, which is a part of luxury shopping that I think is very important to some people. I know that's a factor that plays into my purchases, and I know I'm going to have these things for a long time. And that is a justification to me of how much I spend on, you know, authentic luxury. It also maybe means that this group of Gen Z aren't necessarily interested in the shopping experience, in the story behind items, in the heritage of the brand, all of that. Maybe it just doesn't resonate. It's just something that is not important to their shopping experience. Now, an excellent point that NSS magazine made around this is that craftsmanship is an often neglected element in the communication of fashion brands. So, if their marketing is successful enough for, you know, Gen Z, this demographic, whatever, to turn to fakes because they can't buy the real thing or whatever, they still have the want for the item, then maybe if they focus their marketing on the craftsmanship and the quality and all of that, maybe that in turn might increase that importance for quality and longevity. I think like two brands that do this absolutely brilliantly, and I'm not saying that because they do it brilliantly there aren't enough fakes, this is just like an interesting point, is one of my favourite ad campaigns of all time, and I'm not really somebody that like thinks about ad campaigns. The Patek Philippe ad campaign, you never really own a Patek Philippe, you just look after it for the next generation. Brilliant, my favourite thing, I will always remember that. It's excellent, it gets the point across. In that it like warrants like its price and its value, right? It's more than the price. Another brand that's been trying to do this a lot recently is Bottega. Recently introduced their lifetime warranty. I think things like that really help. Maybe those sorts of tactics could help see a decline in people turning to counterfeit items. Now, another option here to buying things full price, and as we know, they're expensive, is obviously the Preloved market is huge at the moment. That's a great way to go. And also vintage. There are so many amazing deals to be found. And I think there has been in general a boom for vintage designer fashion. So if we take, for example, this group of Gen Z that are buying luxury fakes, really because the main reason is how unaffordable the authentic pieces are, you could obviously go Preloved. Preloved is an incredible route. But then again, if you pair this with the marketing of these luxury brands that are pushing for those new items, what's hot and all of that, maybe that's not even a way to go anyway, because they want the hot new thing, and the only way to get that at an affordable price is to turn to your DHgate. The final point is that there is also this sort of mentality of I don't want to put money into the pockets of big corporations. I know it didn't cost that much to make. Why should I, help these big names profit? But the thing is that sometimes it's not those big names that have been affected by this. And you know, we know that, again, one of the cons of buying counterfeit items is that it's IP theft, right? Somebody's creativity has gone into that that's just been stolen. But that also happens to smaller brands as well. So recently, there's been a dress going viral on particularly Twitter, I've seen it. It's this pink little ruffle dress that looks shockingly similar to a dress by Fancy Club. Fancy Club is a small luxury fashion brand that has been gaining a lot of traction. A lot of celebrities have been wearing their stuff and all of that. Great, good for them. They have a very distinct style. And the website that has put out the dress that's going viral is called finesse.com. It's an AI fashion brand. So basically the pictures that you see are of items that do not exist. You then either pre-order the item or vote on the items that go into production. They say that this is for sustainability purposes and all of that. But what they're doing is they're directly ripping off small designers for their popular designs, charging a fraction of the price. So like this Fancy Club dress, I think is like retails for between $250 to $280, and the finesse version is I think $46. So it's to the detriment of small designers as well. Slip Into Style did a really great sort of TikTok and reel about this. I will have that linked below to get a bit of more of a deep dive on that topic in particular. And you know, I've seen like an acceptance of this, or a normalization of buying counterfeit and fake items on platforms, especially TikTok. And again, I'm seeing it on YouTube as well, that I've never seen before. Before, people were not exactly happy to own up to something being fake, right? Or you'd see something and be like, oh my gosh, where did you get that? And, you know, it would be somebody you know, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, I actually got it. That's not real, but how good is it, sort of thing. It always used to be very hush-hush. It was never something that you would be like, oh, look at my fake bags, you know? So I just thought it was interesting that this is now a thing that started, and the reasons behind it, and how luxury might combat that. Anyway, there you go. What do you think of this whole thing? I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye, guys.